Hello and welcome to Hydra Collectables. My name is Kevin Eastman, and today we are talking about turtles. Cowabunga! Hola.
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How about you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Take a little more glare off there. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too. Thank you so much for doing this. It's really appreciated.
Yes, my pleasure. Absolutely. Thanks.
So, I've got some questions for you, if you don't mind answering.
That's it. Fire away.
um,
It's
so there were quite a few characters missing from the Last Ronin story arc, and now that it's over, are there any other stories that you would like to tell? And if so, which characters would you like to revisit?
That's a great question, and it's interesting when we approached Last Ronin, based on the original idea that Peter and I had written back in 1987. It was still in the infancy of all of the things in the Turtle universe, so it was
Yep.
sort of, as you know, and so it was very centric to just those early Mirage issues with the core characters, the four turtles, Splinter, Casey, April, that kind of stuff, and Fugitoid. And so when we addressed the issues there that happened in first issue, which I wanted to resolve in the Last Ronin series, we just kept a separate to that and kind of focused and wanted to wrap up that. But as we were going through the process of the story, filling out the story for the Last Ronin, lots of ideas, lots of ideas said this is a really fun universe. This is a really I guess to me the Turtles have always had kind of a multiverse. The original black and white and the animated cartoon, and then the movies that were kind of somewhere in between. And so with this other component, this Dark Knight sort of version of the Turtles universe, I was like, man, you could do some pretty fantastical things on this platform based on other things, either from the Mirage universe or other Turtle universes, if we wanted to continue stories here. And so Tom and I have talked at length about opportunities and things that we could do within that structure, and we're definitely very keen on exploring possibilities. We think there's some great great opportunities for some really good stories. So without giving away too much more, we're definitely thinking about it, and we think it'd be really fun. So.
No, that's fair. Great stuff. I really look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. So my second question is, what was it like creating this project through a worldwide global pandemic? Were there any obstacles that you and the team had to overcome that you otherwise wouldn't have to deal with?
Man, it's so funny because the timing was fortuitous. On the one hand, that we were going into a very big project that needed a lot of development, needed a lot of sketches, and to sort of, for me to direct the artists that I wanted to work with, as I do the final layouts, and then actually build the sets that I want the scenes to take place. And so with working with the amazing Escorza brothers and Ben Bishop and stuff, so I suddenly we're not traveling. Suddenly there's a lot of stuff that we weren't able to do anymore in our normal life. We've got a young child and very busy schedule and that. So it was just lots and lots of drawing time. So it was opportunity to really dig deep and build out those sets and build out the visuals and build out the world that we needed to create, because it was basically, starting from the ground up. And so the advantage was there, for sure, in that, and then the time to do the layouts, even though I continually apologize to the fans for being late. The schedule ran really late on this book. We spent so much time and put so much love into it, but the one big expense to the project was I handpicked an artist named Andy Kuhn, who I wanted to work with. He's an amazingly talented artist, and for personal and some other issues, he had to step away from the project, and I think a bunch of those were pandemic related. So unfortunately, we lost Andy, but at the same time, we were able to pick up the Escorza brothers, who I had worked with at Heavy Metal magazine. They did a story for me, and they were just fantastic. And I didn't think they would be available, and they just came off a project just as we were starting Last Ronin. So they came on board, and Ben Bishop came on board because I wanted him to do the flashbacks. And so normally you think, like, in a regular job, that the pandemic would cause lots of issues, but where everybody was working remotely, the brothers, as the Scorza brothers, are outside of Mexico City. A colorist, the amazing Luis Antonio Delgado, is also outside of Mexico City. Ben Bishop's in Maine, and so Tom and I were really the only ones here. that was sort of focusing on, what we needed to direct, but then we were working, remotely with everybody else. So it went smoother than thought, and it was just, it just left us to worry about other family and loved ones during a pretty crazy time. But otherwise, we were able to move ahead. I was probably the biggest stumbling block, and that was just me being fussy on my layouts and designs and final things. But no, so nothing too crazy to overcome.
Cool, thank you. It's really great to have that insight into like the way these things are brought together. So in your own mind, whilst working on this epilogue, have you assigned names and genders to these new 4 turtles?
Nothing I can share yet, but it's definitely something. I'll give you here's kind of an indication of the approach to that particular process, only in as an example of the creation of Jenica in the ongoing Turtle series. This came out of an idea for a character that Tom came up with in issue 51 of the Turtles, and we fairly fell in love with this character that was going to be featured over 4 or 5 issues arc, and we really fell in love with her. So we ended up keeping her in the family and wrote her into a bigger part, a bigger role. And in about 2 years away from issue 95, when Jenica was finally revealed, we knew that we wanted a girl turtle. It was just trying to figure out how to approach it, how to do it in a way that was one story specific, and it made a really good story within the context of the other big arc we were doing. And so it took an evolution of almost 3 years from the idea to get Jenica into reality, because we wanted it done, and we wanted it done right. So we knew we had this ending for Last Ronin with the big reveal. We have discussed names, and we've discussed genders, we've discussed other opportunities, but much like the rest of the stories we would like to try to tell in the Turtle Last Ronin universe, it's like, notepads. It's like, putting Post-its everywhere and say, this is an idea, this is an idea, this is an idea. And it's like putting together a song or a movie or something. Tom and I are writing all these different notes of what might work and what could work. And then we'll get together and sort of put them all up and say, well, start piecing together all the bits and pieces. And it's a wonderfully methodical and organic process that's quite enjoyable. It's just a matter of we're also working on the Turtles ongoing series, Armageddon Game, and a few other really awesome things we're doing in the ongoing series. So it's there, and it's sort of hovering around, and we're making notes. But we should have a full plan of what we want to do in the future with this universe, as well as the other Turtle universe, by middle of the summer for sure. So you have to have me back, and we'll talk about it then.
Oh, absolutely. Not going to turn that down. So one of the big comic book tropes is that a character isn't always gone forever. After they die, they do tend to return. Are the Turtles in this universe completely gone, or will they make a reappearance later down the line?
In the Last Ronin universe, it's for the original cast of Turtles. Yeah, they're 100% done. It could be a little bit of This Is Us kind of flashbacks into certain scenes that set up other scenes that might be there. But as far as an active character in that universe, as an ongoing sort of main storyline through line, other than flashbacks, yeah, you won't see them in there.
Well, I'm sure that's going to upset some fans out there, but I have to say I'm excited to see where this goes moving forward. Right, so final question. The Turtles have been around for many years now and will likely continue for many more. And it's not all too often that a creator like yourself actually gets a chance to write the ending for their characters. So what are your thoughts on the Turtles being your legacy?
Well, it's the first word that always comes to mind is humbling, to be honest. It's really when you think of the origins of Peter and I following this childhood dream of wanting to follow in the footsteps of Jack Kirby and Frank Miller's and people that we really admired, Kirby especially, and never really wanting it more than anything in the world, but never imagining it would actually come true. And so when we were able to achieve that particular goal back in like 1985, drawing comic books full time, it was always sort of that well, let's do it as long as we can because next year it might end, or maybe the next year it might end. And then, when sort of, when it didn't, and it kept going and going, it was just, the best. I couldn't imagine anything better, and to have the fans that bought the book and supported the book and got to do it, allowing us this great life and this great opportunity to do it is fantastic. So when you sort of put it in that context, and then you see the evolution of the first Mirage Turtles and the second Mirage Turtles and the Playmates Turtles, and then the animation Turtles, and as they continue to build their legacy and continue, it's still mind blowing that we still get to do this as a job, and I still have great stories that I want to tell. But it really is something I want to point directly to the people I get to work with. So many of the artists that we work with that are working on the series now, Tom and I have spent, including Tom, he's younger than I am, and he grew up as a fan of the Turtles. A lot of the artists that we're working with grew up as fans of the Turtles. And now these are the artists that are bringing these stories to life and bringing fresh ideas into a concept that sometimes when you think like every idea has been explored, along comes, some really bright and talented and energetic young person that's got a really interesting angle or interesting thing, and it really brings and breathes new life into it. And that's so energizing and so fantastic. It is. And then at the end of the day, we can have what we think is the greatest idea in the world, but without the fans sort of embracing what we're doing, then we really, don't, we can't do what we do without you guys. And so we're pretty blessed on both ends, the fresh talent, the fresh ideas, and the fans that still continue to come into the Turtles franchise and find something, interesting in these odd little characters that we created 40 years ago. So it's quite fantastic, and like I said, humbling at the very least, and at the very best.
Amazing stuff. Kevin, thank you so much for doing this today. Really appreciate it. As a huge Turtle fan, this has been absolutely amazing. I love having you on these interviews.
Thanks, Luke. It's my pleasure always, and look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Take care, mate.
Cheers. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.